it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bruce, roll call, please.
Councilmember Ajluni.
Present.
Councilmember Barrett.
Present.
Councilmember Bisbal.
Here.
Councilmember Ellis.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gazelle.
Here.
Mayor Kajewski.
Here.
Councilmember Cusick.
Here.
Thanks, Bruce. Pages 1 through 6, we have the regular minutes from the August 16th meeting. Please take a look at them, and if they meet your approval, I need a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Also, for the public domain are some various committee and commission minutes on pages 7 to 19. Again, we're just accepting them in the public domain.
I was, just one comment on that. The Park and Harbor meeting on August 9th, I was absent. It doesn't show me on there. I was not there at the
The
meeting,
date was what?
August 9th.
August 9th.
Okay. With that, I need a motion to accept the minutes in the public domain. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public comment? We have any public comment? You could come now, or you could wait till later, but, yes, then please come to the podium and,
First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Delphine Parker. I live at 60 Moreland, and I am a retired teacher, and my husband is a retired principal. This is important because my husband, as I've shared with a few of you, now has Parkinson's, and he has necrosis of his left hip. Consequently, I am very, very busy. I am very preoccupied with a lot of his problems, and his problems have, of course, become mine. The work that was done by two is now done by one. I have several issues that concern me. The first one is, again, nothing that is world-shattering. I'd like to just point out, since I live on Moreland, Moreland is a very, very busy street. A lot of people do not abide by the speed limit. I work outside a lot, and I see them zipping by. Let me preface any further comments by saying the mayor has been super great, as has the police chief. They have all listened to my problems very patiently, and I'm sure they have tried their best. However, the problems continue. My next issue is with our neighbor who lives directly across the street from me. As I say, I'm outside all the time. I am trimming, I am edging, I am clipping. The neighbor, on the other hand, across the street, I cannot see her house for the bushes, for the overgrowth, for the mess. That, coupled with the fact that her sons, I assume they're her sons, drive a pickup truck. So I have two pickup trucks and a whole overgrown house across the street. If that were in Detroit, they would term it an abandoned house, perhaps, something that could be picked up by the city. I have that right across the street, paying over 10,000 tax, and this is what I have to look at. Now, getting to my third problem, which is the most pressing problem I have, which really I have no way of resolving it, and the neighbor who lives at 76 Moreland seemingly is thumbing his nose at every attempt to deal with him. He has two dogs. One is a yapper, one is a big dog. I listen to the two of them at all hours of the day and night. The police have been super good coming out. We had called them during the night, me in my pajamas. They listened patiently. I am disturbed. He is not. He lets the dog out. The dog barks to be admitted in. He lets the dog in. This goes on day after day. It has reached a point I dread night because I know my husband is going to be awakened, my son is going to be awakened, as am I. I have tried speaking to the man. He is a Mr. Dave Martin. I have tried speaking with him. The dogs are lunging at me from inside his house, and he says, "Those are not my dogs barking." Okay, those are dogs just like the ones I hear every night. Strange thing. I have tried keeping a log. However, it doesn't prove, it doesn't improve, let's say that. I started July 8th, 10:30 at night till 10:45. July 9th, 5 to 5:10 in the morning. July 11th, 9:30 to 9:45. July 13th, 1:40 to 1:45 in the morning. July 14th, 10 o'clock. And it goes on. July 16th, the barking is at 12:40. In other words, I have annotated every single yap, every single time I hear the dog. I am getting no cooperation. As I say, Mr. Mayor is super great for listening to my problems. The police chief, the police officers have been great. The man simply thumbs his nose at everything that's going on. He told the police chief a story, I would call it a fairy tale, that he is going to put in a very expensive security system which will help with the dog barking at all hours and prove that he is not at all the guilty one. I am waiting for that super security system. I haven't seen it yet. So the days go on, the months go on, we're almost into October. I'm running out of paper to keep annotating this, and it does no good. In other words, I have reached an impasse. I don't have time for this. I have a sick husband. I am so busy with him, going to doctors, going to therapy, having surgery on his hip. I don't have time for this nonsense, and it's very aggravating. As I say, it's reached a point, I dread the night. This is terrible. I have no way of resolving it. I need help. That's it. That's my sad story.
Well, thank you, Delphine. I know I've made the chief very aware and the manager, and we're trying to get it resolved. You've
Thank
been
you.
patient, and I appreciate that.
Thank you for all your efforts. As I say, they are greatly appreciated. I would never, ever get this kind of attention anywhere else, and I know that. That's why I live in Grosse Pointe Shores.
Well, thank you.
Those pickups you talked about, are they parked in the street or in the driveway?
In the driveway. They are pickup trucks, and I have them there Saturday. I have them there Sunday. And I cannot see the house for the overgrowth. I question.
What do we have in the ordinance books about
Noise and
that? You know,
Presentation.
I mean, it's not so much blight if it's not garbage out there or.
If it's
property
not,
that's-
I haven't seen the pictures of it, but
Okay.
if the weeds grow or the grass over a certain height, that'd be one thing. If it was
Pardon me?
overgrown.
Yes, chief.
We do? Okay, great.
Thank you for coming in, Mrs. Parker. Well, we're here to serve, and I just wanted to give you an update on where we are with this particular complaint. In regards to the barking dogs, I have spoken a couple times with Mr. Martin in regards to the, he is installing a system to be able to verify when his dogs are out and when they're not out. It's going to record 24/7. He didn't want to purchase it, but he has agreed to. In regards to the speeding vehicles, I sent an email to my supervisors, and we are putting randomly, we put a traffic unit on that street. The dwelling, we have generated a complaint on the dwelling. They did cut some of the overgrowth on the curb. In lieu of, instead of a front lawn, this resident has ground cover, which is, depending on your assessment of ground cover, it's either ground cover or it's a weed. There has been some work done, we feel it is currently to ordinance. However, the tree, I don't know if there's an ordinance that indicates that trees have to be cut so that you can actually see the dwelling, because some trees do block the sight line to the house. But we are, the complaint is still open, so we'll continue to address those issues. But, does the front of the house look neat across the street? No, it does not. However, I don't think it currently is in violation of our ordinances.
Thank you, Chief.
Do we have noise ordinances, Chief? If you go over the house at 5 a.m. and a dog is barking like crazy, do we have any recourse?
Yes, we have a disturbing the peace. Normally, if an animal is out at night and it will bark to come back in, the resident has indicated to me that when that occurs, the animal comes directly back into the house, and it does not stay outside for any length of time at night. So, but once again, I don't have anything to verify this. He is attempting to verify it on his own, so.
Thank you, Chief.
One or two barks is enough to wake you up. When it continues 6 or 7, by the time the police come there, the dog is in. It's all very quiet. It's lovely. In the meantime, 3 people are disturbed.
Distinguished council, my name is Robert Arthur Parker. I'm the son. I also live there. 99% of the time, every night, this is going on. It's horrific. This morning I was up at 4 o'clock. 7, 8 times of the yapper, very loud. Yip, yip, yep, yep, yep. They let this sweet little beast out to do his stuff without being there and possibly popping it after the first one. 7 times. I go into our sun porch, all the lights are out. So even if I was to call 885-2100 and get a radio card there, guess what? It's over. And the times that it's 15 minutes, I'm tired, I'm worn out, I am mentally cracked. And when he says it's not his dog, Lord Almighty, I wish there'd be a truth meter. It would be so far in the lying category. I'm tired of it. I am past tired. And you know what? I tell you what, sometimes it's 2, 3 times 10 o'clock. And we hit the hay early, okay, because of my dad's condition. And hey, 10 o'clock, okay, and then sometimes 12, 1, today it was 4 o'clock. And I thought I'd really get it 7 times. I go in the sun porch, I'm waiting, it's all dark over there, and then it's done. But guess what? I'm up at 4. I resent it. I really do. I keep my nose clean. I'm a law-abiding citizen. And for him to be giving malarkey about this, about that, doggone it, that's his dog. When my mom went over there to see him 6 months ago, I was in a bedroom in the front, closed window, brand new Anderson windows, and they're terrible. $10,000 worth in the bedrooms thinking it would cure it. It did nothing. They're tissue paper. And I heard that yapping dog. And the guy has the audacity to say, that's not my dog, you lying bag of wind. Don't you dare affront me. I am livid. I am torqued up, tighter than a 20-year clock. This goes on every night. I've had it. Had it. If my parents can't get rest, if I can't, I understand the police. They don't hear it. That's like someone shooting a gun. 2 minutes later, a radio car could come. Did you hear it? No. But it happened. It happened. And everybody, oh no, that's not, yes, it is your dog. And it just goes on and on and on ad infinitum.
Is this-
Something has to change. And you know, now here, one of the policemen, I said, well, can't you tell him to put a muzzle on the thing? Oh, no, that's like a mouth. You know, that's like a person's mouth. You wouldn't have a muzzle on it. Oh, okay. But my sleeping, that's fine. Being interrupted, disturbed. I'm not mad. It's just, doggone it. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And it's growing trite, trifling, weary. A list of adjectives could go on and on. You know, and here, when I was out on the sun porch looking at that house, it's pitch black. So naturally, when a radio car comes by, it's dark. They're slick. They're smart. Just like pre-Pearl Harbor. Well, look at history. Look at history, friends, what happened. I know that's that dog. I write report after report after report. I'm not blaming the police, but doggone it. Enough stupidity, enough nonsense, enough trifling. Put a stop to it.
Well,
I-
you have the chief on it, so
I
think-
know,
Yeah.
I know. But it's wearing
No, I
every
understand.
night, 2, 3, 4 times. And you know, I haven't called 99% of the time because it's wearing me out. And what are they going to do when they see a dark house and the sweet lovely is inside? I could tell the times and everything, that doesn't matter, but in a way it does. That crazy dog was charging and almost attacking an infant in a stroller this summer. And to my shame, I didn't pop that dog with a bow and arrow or a shovel or something in my hand, to my shame. And for those parents not to call, shame on them.
Okay, thank you for coming, and
Thank you.
the chief will follow up on this. Any other public comment?
I'm Kenneth George. I live at 42 Greenbrier. I have an industrial background, and I love seeing new and different machinery. And we've had lots of new and different machinery in our subdivision in the last month or so. And I took a lot of videos. I talked to the people. I know the council knows this now, but for the rest of the people, they have to dig a big hole, at least 10 foot long, to run the horizontal drill. And they go 400 feet, and then they dig another big hole and they run the pipe. And in between, they've had bunches of other holes. They put a couple of holes on my front lawn, and I have no complaints. They tore up the grass, no big deal. But as I walk through and I see some of these beautiful driveways, and some of them are new, and they're dug up. And I cannot imagine what the owners are thinking. And I've talked to some of the council members, and I have to say, the council is on top of it. I was not aware of it, but the council members and Brett Smith seem to have had lots of conversations with DTE, and I want to thank you for that. And I've learned a lot in the process. However, it would be nice if DTE were to inform the residents as what they're doing and why. Apparently, it's a federal law that they have to dig where the T's are. Unfortunately, a lot of those T's are under the driveways. Nothing that can be done about it. But if the people know about it, it would at least make the people understand and not feel as bad. We've all gotten a letter. Yes, it's a form letter, but that's what Edison does. They don't send out individual letters about removing the meter from the inside to the outside, and if you want it moved someplace other than right where it is, you're going to have to pay for it. Council has, and Brett Smith have talked to DTE. Apparently, that's not the case. But we have to, those of us who are not aware of what's going on have to go by what the mail said. It would be nice if Edison were to inform us along the way. Two other things. One, we have very few parcels that are going to be subdivided or have new constructions. perhaps in the future, when parcel is being built on, there's a coordination between the gas company and the contractors, and maybe when the city gives the permit, that they don't put the shut-off valve under the driveway, so that doesn't happen in the future. The next thing is, in many cases, they've dug these big holes right near large trees. Now, we all know that if we eat a lot of junk food, we're going to die early because our veins get clogged, our arteries get clogged. Well, when you cut the roots to the trees, it does the same thing. They don't have to go the full 400 feet. They could stop 10 or 20 feet away from the tree. Now, it's too late now. Well, they've done the damage with the existing trees. But in the future, maybe we can have Edison be a little bit more considerate of the trees in the community. It's just a matter of communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Any more public comment? Yes, please come.
Hello, my name's Joseph Valerdi, 24 Fontana Lane. This is a concern I had already mentioned to Mayor Ted, and he said to bring it up here. I'm going to discuss it in some detail because it affects the health of everybody in the community. Not too long ago, a friend of the family talked to us about smart meters, which would be, there's talk that they would be installed soon in our community. She has done extensive research on smart meters, and has said that they're very dangerous to your health. Her husband has melanoma. Her brother-in-law, who is right behind the street, excuse me, he has terminal cancer. She's very health-oriented. I have a list of some symptoms that have been found with smart meters once they're installed, and I would just like to read through those. They include sleep problems, stress, agitation, anxiety, irritability, headaches, sharp pain or pressure in the head, ringing in the ears, ear pain, high-pitched ringing, concentration, memory or learning problems, fatigue, muscle or physical weakness, disorientation, dizziness or balance problems, eye problems, eye pain, pressure in the eyes, cardiac symptoms, heart palpitations, heart arrhythmias and chest pain, leg cramps or neuropathy, arthritis, body pain, sharp stabbing pains, nausea, flu-like symptoms, sinus problems, nosebleeds, respiratory problems, cough, asthma, skin rashes, facial flushing, urinary problems, endocrine disorders, thyroid problems, diabetes, high blood pressure, changes in menstrual cycle, hyperactivity or changes in children's behavior. It has affected children quite a bit. Seizures, reoccurrence of cancer, and even more. I have testimonies here of some people I'd like to read. This is from people all across the country where these have been implemented, and just a few pages, but it's very important, as you mentioned, to bring up so people could be aware of these. The first story.
Yeah.
I have been cynical towards people who worry about smart meters for a couple years, even was an early adopter nearly 5 years ago. The last time I've been experiencing a chronic sore throat that my doctors can't explain. My kids are developing learning disabilities, among other strange issues. The more I read, the more I'm concerned about the microwave radiation they give off. The next story. The first ones installed on the side of my apartment buildings were just steps away from my apartment. I had lived in this apartment for 5 years with no problems. Suddenly, I started having terrible problems sleeping. I tried everything I could think of and finally went to the doctor, who gave me sleeping pills. For over a year, I needed a pill every night, sometimes half worked, but only a few hours, and soon would be using the second half. On Thursday, 4 days ago, newer and stronger meters were put in to replace the ones installed a little over a year ago. Now I cannot sleep, even with the sleeping pill, and I am feeling so fatigued and muddled brain that I can barely think straight and even have trouble standing up straight.
Excuse me, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
This is a bit anecdotal, and I think, Ted, haven't we covered this before? And can you not opt out of the smart meter if you choose to?
I'm not sure what the procedure is. When we talked Sunday at the car show, I know the question is, we have really no jurisdiction over this issue. It's the Public Commission that regulates the utilities in this state. So And I know they were controversial. We had some residents that talked about it about 2 years ago, about the electric meters being replaced, ours included, because it had to have a smart meter. I think, Bob, did you have any comments?
You can opt out. It'll look like the same meter, but it won't have the electronics in it. You can opt out of that, and that's part of the MPSC rulings.
Okay.
That applies to gas meters as well as electric meters?
Yes, because the gas meters are going to have the same process. Okay?
Okay.
But you gotta tell them up front. And they, unfortunately, you get an extra charge for that too.
No cost, yeah.
Okay. If I could,
$300 to opt out.
Not trying to belittle what you're doing, because.
okay. If I could just finish this a little bit more, though.
Okay.
Since I'm in a rental, I'm going to have to try to move probably to another state because I do not feel that this was in California is going to do anything good on this matter to protect my health. But I want you to know that, in my opinion, making all of our technology communicable with wireless technology is going to bite us in the rear big time one day, and we will be totally unprepared. She goes on, and I'll skip this to another one. But actually, I'll just skip it here. There are other stories from all different states. This is just a few pages, 4 pages of stories. This particular site was not the only one that I saw this on. I saw numerous others. These were 4 pages of testimonies. There are 220 others from states all across the country, and they're all saying the same thing. So I know you said to bring it up, and I
We
didn't.
appreciate the comments. I
Yeah,
mean,
so I
when you
just wanted-
mentioned, I didn't
because it
know
is a
about
public
the
safety
opt-out,
matter.
for gas meters as well, so.
But I just want to say, that from what I've read, pretty much everyone's saying the same thing, and it's all across the country. I haven't seen anyone that's really argued the other way. So just for everyone's safety, just so you're aware of it.
We appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you.
You have copies, is it
If
possible
you
to make
want,
copies?
I'll make copies
Yes,
for
this
council and-
site was the best one, but there's several websites. There were, I mean, it was story after story, but
If you want to drop them off, I'll
Yeah.
have me to make copies for all of council. so.
Well, one of the topics that we talked about was that if you have a meter inside the house, it must be relocated outside the house, so. Any other public comment? Yes, please come on up.
Dr. Joe from Fontana. First of all, our street is the worst of all regarding workup. But I had mentioned regarding this new meter to the gentleman who was working, who's in charge. He says, you know what, very simple as it is. You don't agree, you'll have no gas. And I thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
When I asked what we're going to do with all these 5 holes on the street, he says, we'll see about it. It's still there. It probably will be there until spring because they will not be able to put the grass at the current time. It's gonna be too cold.
Well, we're gonna stay on them. We have some money escrowed,
I know that. I was up in the,
Yeah.
in the city
Okay.
upstairs.
Okay,
They told me that too, but that doesn't, that doesn't help. You don't agree with the new meter, you'll have no gas in the house.
okay,
That was the answer. That's a lovely answer.
okay.
What was your name again for the minutes?
I beg your pardon?
What was your name again?
Name and address.
I am on 21 Fontana, the worst
okay.
section on the street in our area. But they started first, you got that big machine that's over and hydroelectric and destroyed everything. It's all backed up.
Okay, well, thank you for coming. Any other public comment? If not, the next item, it's not on the agenda, but we're very pleased to present this proclamation. Tom, Blaze? Grosse Pointe Shores, we're no commercial district, we have no business district. We have about 1,100 homes, and we have 2 non-businesses, and you guys represent the non-districts. So, the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club, after a 2-year process, has been bestowed with the title of Historic Designation added to the National Register of Historic Places, not the state, the National Register. And the yacht club located 788 Lakeshore Road, Grosse Pointe Shores, was designed by architect Guy Lowell in the 1920s as his last significant structure before his death in 1927. Mr. Lowell was also known for designing the Boston Museum of Fine Arts and the New York State Supreme Court building. The Grosse Pointe Yacht Club's 75,000 square foot clubhouse was designed in the Italian Renaissance style and opened in 1929, just before the start of the Great Depression. The clubhouse has a 187-foot bell tower designed by the same company that built the Liberty Bell for Independence Hall in Philadelphia. The club's 5,000-pound bronze bell is 5 feet tall and 4 inches thick. The Grosse Pointe Yacht Club is an iconic building and a familiar sight for all Grosse Pointers. Therefore, this 20th day of September, I, on behalf of the city and the council, present this proclamation to share in the joy and the pride felt by the Girls Pony Yacht Club and congratulate the club on its outstanding service to the community and this latest honor received. Thank you. Thank you. Imagine building a structure, 1929, just days, just from the great stock market crash. But, all right, the next item is the public hearing, and we're going to convene the council to sit as the zoning board of appeals. I need a motion to so do so.
So moved.
Is there support?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. This is a special land use request for 699 Lakeshore Road. Mary, would you like to begin the presentation?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm not exactly sure if the petitioners are here.
Are the petitioners here? Okay, okay.
Well, Mayor and Council, the Planning Commission denied the request, and it was 5-2 against it. 2 were for the ordinance to be granted.
Uh-huh.
And the reasons, oh, I thought you wanted to say something, Mark?
When you're done.
Okay. The reasons were, of course, it seems premature to split a lot when we do not have the plans, and there was no hardship indicated as far as the commission was concerned. I believe that Councilman, actually Mayor Pro Tem, abstained because he will vote on it today. But the rest of the commission, as I mentioned, 5-2, 5 against it, and 2 for it.
Thank you, Mary. Is the applicant, you want to state your, state your case or state the reason for the split? Yep. Please, please come up.
My name is Nicholas Bichond. I represent the Fiore family, who are the owners of 699 Lakeshore. I am a Grosse Pointe Woods resident, and I'm actually a Grosse Pointe Yacht Club member, so it's actually cool to see that today. I thank you for taking the time to review this. I did have the pleasure of working with your staff and administration. Tom was very helpful in looking at this, and I came before the commission in April, and I asked to come back at a later date so that I could thoroughly look at this. My clients, it is true, that have not designed a building to build on this parcel that we would like to split. The house was bought in 2005 at a time when the prices were very high. Prices came down in 2009, 10, 11, and 12, and if you wanted to split at that point, you would not have been able to, because no bank would have let you out of what was the scenario to allow another building to be built. It is now 2015, 2016, prices are higher, and the value of the building has gone back significantly. So my clients, who have 2 daughters, one of the daughters is actually the owner, one of the owners, and they've looked at building a house next door to the property to basically build the daughter a house. That is kind of the goal. So looking at this and looking at the framework and the time frame, I looked at what the zoning and the variances call for. And in working with the Planning Commission, the biggest controversy is this structure. I don't know if you were provided these or not.
Yes, we have.
Okay, this is a garage, which at one time had a living quarters. Now I've toured the garage, I've toured the living quarters. It's not a living quarters at this point. I wouldn't let my worst friend ever live there. And the utilities have been shut off, and basically it is cold storage. So the Planning Commission, in looking at the different ordinances, said, we will grant you the land split, just as long as you tear down the structure and remove the driveway that connects to the other part of the parcel and basically leave it as a field, which would be nice, but at this time, my clients would really just like to keep everything exactly the same way as. They've actually spent thousands upon thousands of dollars this year actually on their house, the main house, redoing the painting. They added a brand new driveway, and they've done a lot of work. They've actually redone some of the landscaping to spice up the property to make it look good. And that's great. Every homeowner should be. I think I bought a house on Fairholme this year, and that's what I've been doing all year. But my clients have asked this board to come in and allow a lot split. Now, according to the site plan that was provided and the zoning requirements, there isn't a problem. We're not asking for a variance on how big the land is or anything to that effect. All we want to do is split it so that we can potentially keep the main structure and the land encumbered, and so that you have an unencumbered piece of property so that you can eventually build a house on. That's the only reason we're here. There's no ifs, ands, or buts or anything else. The clients love this place. They pay thousands upon thousands of taxes, like most of the residents here do, but they are in a very unique situation that most homeowners are not, in that this land can actually be split and another structure can be built, put on the tax rolls, and allow another wonderful family to come into Grosse Pointe Shores and enjoy. They haven't come to you with the building. They haven't come to you with plans. They haven't come to you with anything except a lot split. Now, I find it funny, kind of, that you would want someone to have a vacant piece of land and just have it sit there. And there was a lot of concern about whether or not someone would eventually start living in the structure. Now, let's see. Since 2005, they've owned this property, and while they work on their property and have large vehicles, no one lives there, and no one's planning on living there. And there's no need for this family to have anyone live in that structure. And that's what I think the Planning Commission got caught up in. Technically, right now, the way the property sits, we could have somebody go in. We could fix it up, and we could have somebody live there. But we're not asking to do that. We're asking to continue exactly what 699 Lakeshore looks like. And I pass it almost every morning because I get to take my daughter to daycare, and I go by it, and I go up Jefferson and go through your city. That's a wonderful village city. Congratulations on that over the last couple of years. But that's why we're here. And that's why I appeal to you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, at this point, you're very adamant and convincing in your statement. I have to ask, then why? Why are you asking for a lot split if you're not going to touch the property, if you're not going to change the building, if everything is going to stay exactly as it is per your instructions?
Yep.
Then why are we here? I mean, why are you asking for that?
Thanks. Basically, if you are a financial institution and you have a large parcel and a house on it, the bank is going to want to gobble the whole parcel and encumber it. And we actually had a builder, I believe, was on the Planning Commission, and he, I think, understood where I was coming from. If you have an unencumbered parcel where you have no mortgage, you pay taxes on it, and it's right next door, and it's not encumbered by your mortgage, you can wake up 3 years down the road, hire a great architect to build you, I believe they can build up to a 4,000 square foot house, according to the plans, and go and build one, and get a construction loan to do it. I think you guys are dealing with, there's a large parcel of 8 acres that you're dealing with and how to split, and there's a lot of controversy on that. My clients don't want controversy. They want to keep everything the same, and at some point, submit building plans to the building department to say, I'd like to build a beautiful house here.
Yeah, I'm looking at your petition, and it said that your sole purpose is in order to finance new construction, the property must be split.
Yes.
But we're not having any new construction for 5 to 10 years, you said at the commission here.
Well,
If then.
And I will qualify that.
And let me finish.
Absolutely.
You're now asking for at least 3 waivers or variances in order to maintain the property exactly the way it is.
Yes.
If your only purpose is to free up the mortgage on that back 100 feet, why don't you just, and the bank is willing to do that without that lot, why wouldn't they do it with a description of the lot excluding the westerly 400 feet of the property?
Because that'd be against banking guidelines, and they'd want to.
Oh, come on now, I've done it a million times, I'm a real estate lawyer. They're not gonna back off of that. They don't need that whole, if you're telling me they don't need it for the value, then why are we here?
I would respectfully disagree with you, respectfully.
I-
And that's all right.
I figured you probably would.
But that's fine. It's a lot easier to go into a mortgage and say, here's the property, here are the bounds, here's the tax parcel ID, and you know this, you could probably agree with me on that.
Yeah.
Now, that you've been able to do that in the past, that's great. But in this scenario, the lot split can be allowed by the ordinance. And the planning commission basically told me, and I believe you were there also, that said, if you tear down the structure, you can go ahead.
But then you wouldn't be asking for any variances.
Well, the variances that I am asking for is to keep a structure that's been there since 1920 there.
Exactly,
That's
so if
number
you tear
one.
it down, you don't need it.
Okay, it's a perfectly good structure at this point. So, and again, I'm stating this, it could be 2 years, it could be 5 years. It depends on, if you know my clients, sometimes it takes a long time to figure out how they're gonna build before you build, which
What
is probably a
happens-
good thing.
What happens in the next 5 to 10 years if your client sells the parcel, or God forbid, passes away?
Well, it's actually owned by,
We've got a parcel out there with 3 variances on it that we no longer control.
well, I don't know if you necessarily don't control it.
Oh,
If you
we
wanna
don't.
do
I
anything,
mean, you've got a variance for against the property line.
Let me ask you another question.
yes, sir.
Financial interest alone is not a basis for granting a variance. If you look at the statute, it has to be a use or a variance. And if you look at the requirements, what basis are we going to establish that? Use is not if you look at the statute and what our requirements are, I don't see how we're going to say that this parcel, by splitting it, is avoiding a potential, as I think what it was referred to as, undue detriment or harm to the owner of the property. Financial interest alone is not sufficient to grant a variance.
I will agree with you that normally that is true.
Okay, so if we take a strict reading of our variance statutes, which we do here because of our experience with them, we have a financial interest which does not meet the statutory burden for granting a variance. Why would we go forward? For the convenience of a homeowner that potentially may build. He could also sell the parcel, a split lot, to someone else.
Right, and if you sold the parcel, you
With
would.
the variances already there, they could proceed with the construction with that accessory building still on it.
Well, they wouldn't be able to build a house, and you would never approve a house to be built on that.
They would be grandfathered by that, correct? They would have a variance for it.
Well, you have a variance to allow the structure there, but it's not a,
I think you're unnecessarily complicating the issue. If the property owner wants to come forward with plans and split the lot and do that in the future, I think we would be more than receptive to do that. But for financial interest, to maintain the status quo for the convenience of a financial interest in a property owner is not a compelling reason under the statute, as a zoning board, in my opinion, to approve a variance. That's my opinion.
I think the commission twice came up with the same thing. It's premature. If you're ready to go ahead with it now, within a reasonable period of time, different story.
Mark,
But
do you have
on the
any,
if come down the road, I don't think so.
Mark, you have comments?
Yes, the variances, I think there were 4, Mary, 3 or 4 that were required. Side yard, 3 or 4 variances were required. And the key variance is the maintenance, if the lot were to be split, maintenance of a secondary use without a primary use on the lot. As Commissioner Bisbal pointed out, this does not meet the state law requirements for either a use variance or a dimensional variance. And as pointed out, and this was the case with the planning commission, normally, I would just say Tom and the staff and the planning consultants, we try to work with a developer or a planner, with our planners, to come up with reasons to approve. It just doesn't meet any of them. And it appeared at the first planning commission meeting, and it has come back when you have a plan. They decided to come back a second time. I was not at the first meeting, but as pointed out by the outside planning consultants, and again, I am a certified planner, I don't practice as the city's planner, it does not meet the state law requirements to grant this variance. There are some unique circumstances determining it. Yes, no one's living in the house and hasn't for a long time, as far as we can see. And the property owners maintain a beautiful place. Done a lot of work there, but it does not meet the state law requirements to grant the lot split at this point. There was a similar case that the planning consultant mentioned in a neighboring community, and the planning commission itself had an issue where, again, bent over backwards to accommodate on a garage issue that council knows about that. So they're overly cautious in things, but if this met under any circumstances, the criteria that's mentioned in the state planning law for lot splits, we'd have found a way to do it. But without them proceeding with a specific plan, it just doesn't meet the criteria, and the financial hardship, as pointed out, is clearly indicated as not one of the criteria that you can use to grant.
We had
Okay.
another case too in Lakeshore where a homeowner tore down an existing home, and he had a vacant lot that he paid a substantial sum for, and he wanted to put a pool on the vacant lot. And he was denied that because it was an accessory building, and he didn't have a permanent, a structure on the property. So we didn't deny it. We did not allow it in that case. It didn't even make it to the board, but it was stopped at that point. And every time that we grant a variance, for somebody who gives us assurances in the future that it will be done, we have been burned, quite honestly. So, trust but verify.
Is there any public, any more public comment? Mary, would you like to?
Want to add something? Again, the petitioners have a wonderful representative representing them, but my thought is, and so is the commission's, that if they bring us a plan, we'd be more than happy to review it. If they meet all the ordinances, the lot shouldn't have a problem being split. Now, another thing, there is a carriage house, which was, at one time, someone did live there. It can be revamped, and someone can live in it. However, that carriage house is only 3 feet away from the other from the property line, from the neighbors. So we have all these concerns, and all we're trying to do is protect the community and to keep it as pristine as we possibly can and follow the ordinances and treat everyone equally. And if we set this precedent, others will come and do the same thing. So I just feel that this is why the commission voted the way they did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any neighbors present? Anybody wanted to comment? And sir, you're welcome to, to, again, say, I guess, anything to refute what you've heard.
I would just say that, it takes time to come up with what you want to do with a piece of property. And in this situation, I believe there are approximately 6 parcels that are still left in Grosse Pointe Shores that actually could even be split. And I don't know how many carriage houses or old carriage houses are left. In this situation, you have a 3-car garage. It's basically a 3-car garage that at some point will be torn down if a new house is to be built. If we always read technically by the statute, my clients could tear down everything and have to redo their whole landscaping and have even more large equipment out there for a period of 6 months and ask for all these permits. And that's not what they wanted to do. They hired me and they said, Nick, lead the statute. And when I first came here, I thought this was going to be a walk in the park. And I said, before we kept going, I said, let me go back and read all the variances and present to see exactly what was going on and to make sure that we saw the pictures of the carriage house and of the driveway that is the variance. There's 3 variants. There's 4 that I thought we needed. It turned out I only needed 3. One is the actual accessory building, and I believe the other one is the back the backyard and the side, sorry. I don't think it was the side, because on your consultants had said that, and they basically used the same information that I put in my presentation to the Planning Commission. My clients would like to do this. I understand what the board is saying, or what I believe they're saying, but at the same time, this is a very unique circumstance, that you can pay thousands upon thousands of dollars of taxes, and they're saying that we'll even let you say that we won't allow someone to live in the carriage house. I mean, right now, technically, that was the big sticking thing that I saw in the Planning Commission, that they were concerned about somebody selling it and having somebody live in the carriage house. And the thing that got me is that my clients could have that done. I could go live there right now if I really wanted to, and if they allowed me to do that. Because it's existing and it's been there. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be done to allow everything to stay the same to accommodate this request. That's all. Thank you very much for your time, though. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. This is an appeal. You are representing the petitioner in an appeal from the actions of the Planning Commission, so we must vote. We close the public hearing at this point in time, and I ask for a vote. All those in favor of granting the variances that are proposed, say aye. All those against, say nay.
Nay.
Okay,
Thank you very much for your time.
thank you. Rhonda, reports by chairpersons?
Good evening, everyone. First, in your packet, you have a list of the wire transfers for the month of September. The one thing that is unusual is the last 4 items at the bottom of the sheet, and that's for the bond payments for September 30th. If you have no questions about that, I'll move on to the check register. We have a few checks for, larger checks, whether it's for workman's comp or our general liability insurance premium. There's also a check for Tyler Technology, and that's mainly the accounting software, the annual maintenance fee on that to keep all that up to date, and any problems they'll take care of. We also have a few bills for the Lakeshore and Vernier Road intersection, engineering, and some construction. There were some water main breaks. On the second page and towards the center, you'll see the main bill for the audit for Abraham Gaffney. Also from Apollo Fire Equipment, we have a larger bill for the thermal imaging camera that was purchased.
Any questions of Rhonda? This was a busy month. I know there's a lot of, so the check run is for a higher amount than we normally see.
That, the Vandenberg bulbs, that's the flower bulb.
That's all the bulbs that will hopefully sprout out next spring.
I say, that's a lot of light bulbs.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah.
So Rhonda, the audit's now paid, fully paid?
We'll have one more small check. Right now with the audit report, we're waiting on our actuarial firm to prepare the actuarial report, and then we will pass it on to the auditors. They will then input the information into our
Okay.
audit report.
Okay.
And then I believe in November, we're planning on having the auditors here to present that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? If not, I need a motion to approve this check run.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thanks, Rhonda.
Then you'll also see in your packet, I haven't forgotten, I have placed the revenue and expenditure reports along with the balance sheet, now that the audit, as far as I'm concerned, is complete. So you'll see where, so far this fiscal year, we are lining up with our budget on revenues and expenditures. And also, I'd like to mention that the summer property taxes were due by September 14th, and as of right now, we're 95% collected. And I believe yesterday, Lori sent out letters to those that had not paid their taxes, as a reminder, just in case they forgot or they thought they paid them, that we still have not received a payment. So I'm sure we'll get a few more in before the end of the month.
Do we still allow a resident to pay up to midnight? Someone had asked me if I came that night. I mean, is it?
The Public Safety Department empties the drop box at midnight. So.
Okay.
1201.
And we do have that printed on the reverse side of all the tax bills.
Okay.
Holidays, office hours, and especially on the last day that,
Because a neighbor was traveling, he was coming back from Metro Airport. He says, if I get there by midnight, is it timely?
yeah, and that's why, they're mailed out at the end of June. They have 2.5 months to.
Human nature, Rhonda, human nature.
You tell me.
Not a minute too soon.
Bruce, thanks, Rhonda.
It's hard to follow that. Finance Committee met September the 6th. We looked at the preliminary year-end numbers, what kind of surplus we'll have from the fund balance. That's not finalized yet. Then the big project that we're working on going forward at this point is developing a 2 to 3 year comprehensive road improvement program. for not the major street fund, but the local street funds, to assess the individual roads and devise a plan for concrete replacement, repaving, whatever we have. Try to get an assessment of where we're going on that. We've pretty much attacked every other item in the village from a finance point of view, and the next big one is the roads, to continue to maintain those. Next finance meeting is October, the week before, the Tuesday before council. So you're all welcome, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you, Bruce. Chief?
Good evening again, Mayor, Council. As I had previously stated, the Public Safety Department was working on 2 larceny from vehicle complaints. I think you're familiar with the information should surface in the local media this week. In brief, suspects came, found 2 vehicles open on Hawthorne, and they removed the keys from both vehicles that were left in the ignition. They came back 2 nights later with the assistance of Grosse Pointe Farms and their dispatch center. The information was gotten out very quickly, and we made 3 felony arrests within a matter of about, well, the response time was about a minute, and we made 2 felony arrests, 2 juveniles in 1 car and another one on foot that fled the area. So I'm proud of my officers, as well as Grosse Pointe Woods assisted us on that as well, and we continue to work with them on this particular where they find the cars open. And I will report that last night we had open vehicle entered, and a laptop computer was taken out of the car. So again, we continue to urge residents to lock their vehicles, park them in the garage if possible, and remove any items, any property of value. Grosse Pointe Woods is assisting us with this investigation as well. I have been working fairly closely with Councilman Barrett in regards to the park, and I have a brief, we did meet after Labor Day, and I have a brief report on the park. Attendance in the last 3 years is approximately the same. 2014, we had 51,000, almost 52,000 guests. 2015, we had 53,500, and as of September 12th, we had 45,000, so the numbers are roughly the same. We did confiscate 58 park passes this year that will date back to 2011. And I have to give credit to my rangers who were diligent yet respectful and professional at the gate, and I received very few complaints in regards to the stepping up of the admission policy as was outlined in the new Park and Harbor rules. So in that regard, we've done very well. But those figures have remained fairly consistent for the last 3 years. As was mentioned at the finance meeting, my EMS instructor coordinators, they priced out, and it was approved by finance, the purchase of a monitor defibrillator. As I indicated at the finance meeting, we got 2 companies to bid against each other, and we will end up saving in excess of $10,000 with the trade-in and with a 4-year warranty. So we're pretty pleased about that, and we ended up taking the better of the 2 units that we felt was of service to us. So
What's that cost, Chief?
the final price was $32,000 for the defibrillator.
20,000 was a donation for that, though, right, Jake?
That's correct.
One of the residents donated $20,000 for that.
That's correct.
That is great.
And you're offering free demos and free charges for residents who want to see it in action?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good enough.
We actually are going to take the unit when it's delivered. We're going to, I called the resident, we're going to take it to her house and exactly show her how it works and how she's has benefited the community with this donation. We were very grateful. Again, as I indicated previously, to commemorate the Chicago fire of 1870-something, on Sunday, October 9th, we'll again host an open house with all of our vehicles. I plan to give the information to the local media so we can get this out. Our vehicles, police and fire, the SRT vehicle, and I'm hoping to get a U.S. Coast Guard rescue helicopter if they'll bring one down. We have police badges and fire hats for the kids, all are welcome, and it will be held in the DPW municipal lot, just adjacent to the building. As many of you know, I indicated a couple of months ago, the Grosse Pointe Chamber is presenting a mountain bike to all of the Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods departments, which we're extremely grateful for. They're going to be presented at the September 28th Community Leader Luncheon at Trombley School. That's next Wednesday at 1:15 p.m. This coming Sunday, September 25th, Grosse Pointe Shores will be assisting St. John Hospital and the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club with their annual Run for a Reason, 1 mile walk, 5K run on Lakeshore Road. The permitting has been obtained to close northbound Lakeshore from Woodland Shore to Vernier for approximately an hour and a half. So we have DPW assisting us, as well as we will be out there. This year's race will benefit the birthing center at St. John Hospital. I'm actively recruiting through the Macomb and Oakland Police Academies to replace our public safety officer who was a paramedic. I currently have 6 applications, and only one of those has the prerequisite certifications that we need. So we will be interviewing in October. And finally, myself and 2 of my lieutenants will be attending the funeral for Sergeant Kenneth Steele, who was injured on 9/12, and he passed away this last Saturday. Detroit Police Sergeant, assigned to the dive unit. Just a note of gratitude, as you can see, the silver bullet out on the driveway is our new traffic car. Public safety is grateful for these vehicles because when we can replace them and keep them current, they're safer for the officers, and we appreciate the great equipment we have.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And I did get a call from a resident today, again, requesting some kind of overseeing of the landscaping trucks that appear to be impeding traffic on Lakeshore.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw my return email that I sent. The question, what the mayor fielded, and we have spoken with that resident several times as well. The issue is parking of landscape trucks on Lakeshore Road. It's been granted as long as I can ever remember, and there really is no other option. We do ask that they put their 4-way flashers on and cone the area to give motorists a heads up. If they disconnect their trailer from the truck, we will write the trailer a parking ticket for being abandoned. So, and sometimes they'll do that and go to lunch. They'll take the pickup truck and go to lunch and leave the trailer on the street. We write those violations. So I'm not sure how we could address that beyond, because these vehicles cannot get up these straight driveways and get back out onto Lakeshore.
That's what I discussed with the resident.
We do monitor them closely. For example, at 900 and again at 1100, there's a curve in the road, and so we encourage them to park beyond the curve so that motorists can see them coming. So I don't really know off the top of my head how to address that at the moment. So.
Okay, well, thanks for the follow-up. Thanks, Chief. Before we go into Public Works, I'd like to reopen Agenda Item 7, the public hearing, and I want to make sure that the record is clear on each of the 4 variances that they seek. I need a motion to convene as the Zone of Boarding Appeals. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Again, the request was for 4 variances. The first one was to permit an accessory building on property with no principal structure. This is governed by Section 40-231JK0O, that no accessory building of any kind shall be built on a parcel. Apparently, the applicant's requesting a use variance on this, and the standards for granting that is looking at the review criteria put forth by our community planners, that the applicant must just demonstrate that a practical difficulty exists. And so I want to make sure that the standards, we're following the standards that our ordinance requires. So for purposes, I want a separate vote on the first variance, which is the accessory building, regarding the practical necessity or practical difficulty. The comments of our community planner is that as no improvements to parcel 2 are currently proposed, the applicant claims that the removal of the existing accessory structure would be overly burdensome. We need to vote on this, so all those in favor of granting variance 1 to permit the accessory building on property with no principal structure, finding that there is, that we don't have the concerns of a practical difficulty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody, anybody in favor say aye. All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay. The second variance was to permit the driveway to cross the property lines. And again, this is governed by section 40-260, the construction or expansion of any driveway, vehicle turnaround parking spot is not permitted within 3 feet of a side property line or within 10 feet of a rear property line. Again, the standards are clear that from our planner, that our zoning ordinance requires that there be practical difficulty on this one as well. Is that right, Brian?
Dimensional variance, yes.
And so we have to have a finding for the record that there was a practical difficulty to grant the variance for the driveway to cross the property line. So I need a vote on this. All those in favor say aye. All those in favor say nay. Nay. And the third variance was the permit the accessory building within the required rear yard setback, a 22-foot variance. Again, it's still governed by the same zoning ordinance, section 40-393. The same standard thus does apply. This is a 22-foot variance. So we need to vote on it. All those in favor say aye. All those against it say nay.
Nay.
And finally, the fourth one is to permit the accessory building within the required side yard setback. It's kind of adjoined with the other one. Again, same standard applies. 40-393 of the zoning ordinance summarizes the requirements of granting such a variance. So we need a vote on this. All those in favor say aye. All those against say nay.
Nay.
At this point, I'd like to again, recess out of the zoning board of appeals and act as a city council as a whole. Brett, Public Works, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and residents alike. I thank you on behalf of your Public Works Department for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'll start by letting you know that our summer seasonal staff is back to college, and our manpower has dropped significantly. We had a great bunch of seasonal employees this year, and I look forward to their return next summer. At another council meeting, I have to talk again about our traffic signal project on Lakeshore Road. I see heads turning already, but we do have 3 mast arms that are up in the air. Progress, however slow it is coming. So hopefully by our next meeting, we'll actually have some traffic signals hanging. So I look forward to making that announcement.
Brett, does the county have to put the signals up? Does this contract company do that?
It's my understanding that the contractor hangs the signals and the county programs the signals. Okay. I also, one other thing, I had the opportunity to attend the Southeast Michigan Regional Energy Office meeting on September 8th. It was in Pleasant Ridge. The discussion was about ownership and financial regards municipal clean energy projects. They're talking about the same kind of projects that we had already completed. And it was kind of neat to see the different financing opportunities. And when I had the opportunity to speak on behalf of Grosse Pointe Shores, they are very interested in our streetlight project and our Honeywell project. So I was very proud to represent Grosse Pointe Shores in that meeting. It was very nice. Also, a comment that's been going on for a number of months. I could talk about our gas company. InfraSource is a contractor here that's been working here in the village or in the city in Grosse Pointe Shores. They've been very busy in our community. Currently, as of today, all the gas mains have been installed that are scheduled for this year. And the schedule for this year is from Lockmore north to city limits. Currently, there are also 3 crews working on installing services and restoration here in Grosse Pointe Shores. The restoration crews naturally follow the streets that are completed once all the gas services are put in. At this time, there's only 1 street in Grosse Pointe Shores that is totally complete. I did find we have 1 little mishap. We have some landscape lighting to fix at one residence, and that would be Shorecrest Circle. Once again, the entire project for this is Lockmore north to our city limits. Tomorrow, restoration is finally going to begin on Vernier Road. I know that street has been dug up, it seems like, all summer. And believe it or not, you're going to start seeing services going in on Lakeshore Road tomorrow. So, Chief, I know you were talking earlier about traffic problems on Lakeshore. They do plan on shutting down 1 lane when they start making their bores up to the residents. Currently, the services are going to be done on Duval. They started working on those recently. They have a number to do yet, but they're actually working their way south. InfraSource has been contracted by DTE as of last week. They were going to be installing all of the gas services. And that is only the gas line that goes between Lakeshore Road and the home, or I'm sorry, the main roadway and the home. DTE is supposed to hang a bracket on the house where the location of the meter is going to be, and they will be contacting the residents to let them know that they are going to be making the connection, and DTE will also be making sure that everything is working properly before they clear the house. So the additional responsibilities that InfraSource took on specifically is the gas line that goes between the gas main and the home itself, and restoration. I know a lot of people complain about the response of DTE. We have been working with them for most of the summer now, and we have our bumps in the road. And one thing that was kind of nice, as at last meeting, we have such a good relationship with InfraSource. DTE has given all this work to InfraSource. So again, InfraSource will be doing the work, the rest of the project here in Grosse Pointe Shores. I know they have 5 crews currently working in the woods. And we're going to have, DTE has 5 crews working in the woods, and InfraSource will have 3 crews working just at Grosse Pointe Shores. Moving on, Jeff Dupre with our water department has been extremely busy the last week or 2 explaining of a number of high water bills. This has been one of the most hottest summers in recent history, and it's also been one extremely dry summer. And naturally, most of the complaints for higher water bills that we've seen are due to irrigation. I'm happy to say that the new water meter system that we have been installing, we're probably 45% complete. This has made it significantly easier for Jeff to go out to our residents and explain to them their water usage. It's an extremely helpful tool, and I actually have I had Jeff make a report on a home that shows water usage. I gave a 3-month chart. And with this chart, Jeff can tell what day they run their sprinklers and what day they don't. And they can also, if there's a spike, he can tell them if they're watering twice. So far, he has been 100% on satisfying our residents to the bill. So again, thank you to council for allowing us to do this work, and we look forward to getting the rest of the city complete. Mike Way, our master gardeners, is out there with his staff, and he's already pulling out our annual flowers. Currently, all the cul-de-sacs are complete, and next week he plans on starting on taking out the rest of the annual flowers in our park. And once that is done, he's going to start planting all those light bulbs that Rhonda just paid for, our tulip bulbs, so we have our beautiful spring as they come up. And I'd also like to mention that last year we made a change to our leaf pickup program. Those of you remember we changed our schedule around a little bit. What we did is we tried to stick to a schedule that the leaf vacuum or the leaf machine would come by on everyone's scheduled garbage day. I'm here to say that really worked out well for us, so we are going to continue that program. announcing it today, and I hope to have that on our television, any kind of media that we can, to let us know that, or let everyone know that that program will continue. You can put your leaves at the curb any day you want, but just be advised that we plan on picking them up on your rubbish day. That is all I have for, well, no, I can't. I got to mention one other thing. I'm currently attending some classes at Central Michigan University, the Michigan Public Service Institute. Council has been gracious enough to let me sit on a planning committee up there for a number of years. It's an accredited course through CMU, and it's also provides necessary continuing educational units to maintain water and sewer and filtration licenses. That class has gone on real well, and after tonight's meeting, I'll probably be zipping right back up there to finish out the week. But it's a great program. In 1996, we started the program with 17 people. Currently, this class has 148. And this year, we actually had to start another program because we had such a waiting list for people to get on. We have a spring course as well that is in May, and we had 80 people at that. So we have a good program going on, and it is recognized by a lot of people, and I am really blessed by being able to be on that planning committee, and I thank you for allowing me to do that. If there are any questions, I can try to answer them at this time. Yes, sir.
Brett, one quickie, as was alluded to earlier in the evening, the payment for moving the meters.
Yes.
Do we read, do we disregard the letter? I'm assuming that that's what we have been led to believe, or are you mixed emotions at this point?
I have announced at every single meeting that it's my understanding DTE is taking care of everything, and I have not had one problem where they have not.
Great. The record is clear.
Until today, you know, I mean, they say, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But as of today, they have been very gracious on putting the meter where the residents asked that they would be.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are they going to do the connection to the home? How late in the year are they going to go? Are they going to work all winter or what?
They have a schedule that you're putting me on the spot here, but I think their plan is to have restoration work complete, and I don't want to say this to everyone, but by Thanksgiving, including restoration work.
So they're going to have all the connections done from Lockmore all the way up to, all the way through the whole bill?
That is correct. Their last scheduled day for putting pipe in the ground is 10/7. Keep in mind, this is scheduled, and this is now InfraSource, and they've been a lot better at their scheduling than DTE has been. And I see the media writing this down. I hate to make promises, but their schedule shows me that the pipe should be in the ground by 10/7, and restoration should take place after that.
Have they pressurized all the pipes so far in the village?
Most of the pipes have been pressurized, but not all of them. They do have to be tested. Yeah, very good. Another thing that was mentioned, a resident, I think they may have left, about the little holes that have been dug up. That is a requirement. When they dig a hole in the ground, they need to spot the utilities. Most of the time, it's in somebody's front yard where they see a 12-inch square where they're actually vacuum excavating, which is a great way of doing it because it's not very messy. They go down, they locate the utility so they know how to avoid them. Unfortunately, we do have some houses where that utility is in the middle of the driveway. And I believe on Williston, or maybe Williston or Greenbrier, we have a couple with exposed aggregate driveways, and these people have cut squares in them. And InfraSource has assured me that they're going to use a reputable company to make the repair. And if, in fact, they still have the name and number that put that driveway in, they will let that person do it, and they'll just pay the bill. So they've been pretty gracious so far.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Brett. Any further questions? Okay. Thanks again. Park and Harbor, Bob?
Yep. Been a lot of discussion on the soccer field, so I asked Mr. Stuart Bryant to come talk to us a little bit about the soccer guys.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name's Stuart Bryan, and I represent the East Side Football Club. It's formerly known as Grosse Pointe Soccer Association. It went through a little bit of rebranding, but the history of the club starts back in 1979. I am the fields director and have been doing this for 2 years. The board of the soccer club is a volunteer basis with community individuals, and my role is designated to working with the Grosse Pointe schools as well as the various cities in teaming with them to provide fields for the services that we do. So a little bit of background, we have a website called eastfc.org. Our mission statement is East FC is a non-profit organization whose mission is to cultivate the mental and physical growth and development of youth soccer players in our community. It's a 501c-3 non-profit organization, and in theory, what we do there, the collective goal of East Side Soccer is to foster participation in the game, develop participants, and ensure that youth soccer continues to thrive in our community. As I say, we run programs my job here today is really to inform you of what we do and hopefully understand how we can keep our continued relationship. I asked some of the guys who are on the board. We have a resident, Ron Latif, and we have people who have been involved in the soccer club basically throughout their kids' lives. And they said we've been using Schroeder Field for at least 10 plus years in their memory. We have kids that range from ages of 5 through 18 within the Grosse Pointe communities. We have a current roster of 997 children for this fall season, of which only 14% do not reside within the Grosse Pointe, within the 5 Grosse Pointes that we have here. We generally run a fall and spring season. We have 2 levels of play. We have a house, or what we call recreation, and then we have a more advanced level for select or travel. In the middle, for the older groups, we have a metro, which is really bridging gaps where we play regional, other cities like Roseville, or a little bit further afield, but not too far. We are partnered with, as I say, the Grosse Pointe schools for their green space. Green space in Grosse Pointe is limited, so we work with them and adhere to their rules of keeping more than, I attend their fields use committee and work with all the other sports in sharing the green space as well. And something else that we do is we help maintain the fields. We help seed and pay for seeding, fertilizing, and so forth. And that's not only on the Shores Field, at Schroeder Field, but also throughout the other Grosse Pointe communities. We have similar working arrangements with the City of Grosse Pointe Woods, the Grosse Pointe Farms, and also the City of Grosse Pointe itself. So I would like to invite questions with regards to the current and future use of what we do. So that's really it. I don't know how much, if I'd like to give you some more information. What we do is we really plan our fields. We're playing the fall season now, and I'm already thinking about how many fields do I need for spring. So right now is where I'm making sure that I'm getting my paperwork in, making sure that I keep to the regulations. Different soccer associations that we have to work with, they change the rules on what age groups use what size fields and so forth. I've worked with you guys in the past where you've had specific requests with regards to different teams that we put out here, and we keep the younger kids out here up to U14 level. So I'd like to invite any questions or comments.
Let's do it. My son and my daughter both played for the Grosse Pointe Soccer Association. I think at that time you had to live within Grosse Pointe, I think, to be in the program, and then paid a certain fee. I was concerned, and I should say our park is unique because it serves as overflow parking for our park users, our resident users, and then our marina. So when I saw on the website that the House League ended this summer at June 18th, in the past, in years past, there were teams playing in the summer. And June, July, August are our peak months for parking.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were feeling pressure, you know, from residents calling that they couldn't come into the parking lot. And I noticed about 5% of the population of the players reside in Grosse Pointe Shores. About 20% in Grosse Pointe Woods, maybe, and then, you know, St. Clair Shores had 69 players. You have a player from Waterford, you have players in Detroit, Harper Woods, you know, so, I mean, that's great. And I, you know, I understand the mission statement, it's just that we were just trying to get a handle on, I guess, we realized we didn't have a formal policy regarding field uses. I was on the board of directors of the Grosse Pointe Wood Shores Babe Ruth Association, and there was a payment of $1,000 for the use of the smaller field that we have at the Schroeder Fieldhouse to defray the cost of cutting the grass and so forth. But I guess when this came up, we realized we didn't have a formal policy. We were requesting a list of the teams, the roster, names and addresses so that we know. And then it became an issue. Some of the residents were saying, we need to know who's on the field. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that we finally got the demographics of the players. And like I said, we need to probably, it's under the jurisdiction of probably Park and Harbor, but we have to make sure that the use, particularly after June 18th, I mean, I think we sent a letter, Mark, you sent a letter that there couldn't be a game that played after 12 noon on Saturday or Sunday during the summer until we assess our need for parking.
Yes.
Because we didn't have enough parking.
Yeah, and we're open to working with you. Our core season for the spring does end at that time. Historically, we've actually used Schroeder Fields for an Olympic development program, which is a showcase for sport in Michigan. So we certainly could choose other fields. We don't have a huge demand for field use. That's a very specific program that we can turn on and off or move to a different city, to a different village's field.
Well, Stuart, are your elite players or travel players using our field after then, June 18th? It was, I mean, in years past? Because I watched a travel team from Brighton, I believe. You know, it was a very high-level team.
Yeah, the only time a visiting team is using the field is if they're playing a game against one of our sides. So yes, we do have travel teams up to the ages of U14 playing matches here against visiting teams from neighboring cities. So the opponents will not be residents because the recreation division is residents versus residents. It's all the Grosse Pointe players playing each other.
The House League?
The House League, yeah. We've it's the nomenclature's changed. House is now called Recreation, and Select or Travel is the more advanced. And yes, there they will have visiting teams who do play against them in organized leagues.
Can I ask why you changed the name?
To match everybody else. You mean the name of the...
Well, from
house
Grosse
versus
Pointe
Rec-
Soccer Association. I mean,
That
you
was
know,
more of a, that's actually, to get they called it a rebranding. That was the year I joined. It was really a rebranding, getting more enthusiasm. They thought that this would be a good way to get more kids involved. So there's no, yeah, it's a bigger branding out there. And it does help serve the select teams. We get to, you know, competing with, you'll see cars riding around with bumper stickers saying Michigan Fire or Vardar or something like that. Our acronym was lost on a lot of people, so they went for a rebranding to East Side Football.
because residents would call me and they would say, see a van or a truck and dropping off a couple dogs in the dog park and then watching the soccer game, you know, for their son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter. I mean, I think that's what was causing the congestion, particularly after June 18th.
Sorry, sir, I don't understand. Your residents were seeing people...
Well, no, some of the residents spend time at the park, and they watched, one resident in particular told me saw a truck come with 2 or 3 big dogs. They let the dogs in the dog park, and then they went to watch the game. And an hour later came back and fetched their dogs.
So they were spectating the soccer there.
I don't know if they were the actual parents or grandparents, but, and again, we're just trying to understand, and we appreciate you coming here, because we don't understand our demand, or we don't understand really who's using the field.
Okay.
Can I ask you, at this point, Mr. Barrett's communicated, and Mark's told you, but our use policy is at this point. It's pretty clear what we want. No games after 12 and those kind of things. That worked out for you this past summer?
In the summer, absolutely.
Because when that happened, our parking needs, if you will, and our parking overflow disappeared. It worked out well for us in terms of we had no parking issues in the park, and the chief has indicated our usage was the same. It was a hot summer, so all the variables were the same, if you will, for comparison purposes.
Yeah.
So I know that you've also issued some guidelines in terms of travel teams and that kind of stuff, Bob?
Right. We're going to revisit that starting in our next Park and Harbor meeting.
So he's going to be working with you, making some more changes and revisions, but on a mutually agreeable basis, I think.
Right.
I think the changes that we instituted, from the residents' point of view, they worked very well. So if that works for you,
Yeah,
it's good.
that's fine for us. Summer is our low season. We don't play competitive soccer in the summer, so we'll take that for sure.
Well,
The spring and the fall is the bread and butter. That's where we have all the games.
We have to be cognizant that our park is a little different than some of the others, is that we have residents lining those fields. So they're very susceptible to the noise and to the increase in activity in their backyards, so to speak, at various times during the weekend and even during the week. Like tonight, when I walked over, there were games going on. Who's using the field tonight?
Yes, tonight there's practices for certain age groups.
It's called the next one.
Yep. So the field use that we have right now is, I believe, 4 until 7 or 8, Bob. Maybe 4 until 8 p.m.
4 to 8, and how many
Well, it
days a
should be
week
to
is
dusk
that?
till the sun.
Dust till sun.
How many days a week?
5. So we've
Every night.
and that's the main thing for me is we really want to work with you. We're really looking for that open communication channel because more early, I can see a little bit of distress from you and I can actually change that. But I can't change it unless I don't know about it.
Sure.
I can change that if I have an ability to plan, an ability to communicate, and then enable you guys to enforce. Because I will be able to send a message to my coaches, and we'll be able to tell them that right now our website has an area for fields, and right now Schroeder Field says scheduled use only. So all our recreational coaches know they cannot just go to Schroeder Field and use the green space. Although it is an East Side Football Club field of use, they have to be on the schedule to use it. And that's how we curb this summer.
Stuart, will you provide us a schedule of the teams that are scheduled to be there at the field on a given day? And possibly, I think it'd be helpful if at least the council or the Park and Harbor had a roster by teams. Just so we know.
And a roster
of the players, and I
Yes.
would ask for the
Bob
names
has
and
all
addresses.
997 names of our players.
Okay.
I'll have to sort it differently.
Well, I just have a
That's-
one-page
well-
summary, but,
Yes. I can write down your specific requests, or Bob can email them to me. We can kind of slice stuff. This is a volunteer position for me. I have a full-time job. We have a registrar, and they have certain busy periods. So as long as, you can work with us on, getting through our normal jobs, getting through the registration process, and then providing you, and that's what I was talking to Bob about. I can get information to you. It's just for you to understand what I'm going through to get it there. And I didn't want to give him information in the middle of the registration process. We're certainly not looking to hide anything. We're happy to give you anything you need. We just need to work with you in advance.
Stuart, like Bruce said, it worked out nicely, at least for our parking and no need for overflow parking, so.
Yeah. Summer's not a problem. That's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. Okay.
Could we confirm if there's any public comments before I leave the meeting on this matter?
Would anybody like to, Frank, would you like to say something?
My name is Frank Tenkel. I've lived in the Grosse Pointe Shores for 47 years. And we've discussed this somewhat, in fact, at the meeting Saturday morning, which was the town hall. I checked with the organization. They do not schedule soccer games during the summer, okay? Can we all agree on that? And you're sort of hammering on this guy about that when there are no games
don't-
scheduled.
they don't
There
play
may
in the
be
summer.
people that use that soccer field that are not affiliated with his organization. He has nothing to do with it. This is a great organization. We have a social responsibility as a Grosse Pointe community to support this kind of activity. No buts, no ands, no others. They are great. The former organization, most of you have had kids that played in. I had a child that played in it. We want to support them as much as we possibly can. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Frank. Tina, do you have a comment?
This is just a one-page document of all the people. I can resort the document. I'll have my wife do it. She's about 10 times quicker than I am. There's 997 lines of, you have to go in and make sure each line is spelled the same way. That's the problem.
Okay.
And I will do that over the next week or so. Okay.
Stuart, I don't mean to pick on you, but when I was involved with the Grosse Pointe Babe Ruth Baseball League, we had to produce our roster, names and addresses, dates of birth, and parents' name, first name. And we had to provide it to Melissa Sharp at Grosse Pointe Woods, I think, and she monitored that. We had to have a certain percentage in order to have the highest priority to use the Guesquire Park Field.
Correct.
That was the big diamond behind the 4 Little League diamonds. And there was someone monitoring it. And I think what we found out, or at least I think we found out, is we really didn't know who was using it. I watched organized games. I'm not saying they were with your group. I guess I assumed that they were, and Frank's right. But I watched organized games in the heat of summer, in July and August. I don't know where they were from. But meanwhile, they were taking parking away from our residents.
Okay.
And they would park across the street, they'd park in the park, walk across, and, again, then I get the call at night saying I couldn't get in the park.
Yeah, and it's very disappointing, and I appreciate the support because if I've told my people not to be there, Bob's taken me up twice now at least to actually walk out there, grab the guy, and hand me the cell phone and say, tell this guy who you are. He wants to know whether you're part of his organization. And both times it's been during scheduled times and it's been somebody from our organization. So we're happy to, if that's the way we can enable it. You guys if you would like to make that part of our fields use application every year, we can certainly do that. You do have the full roster now. It's an Excel spreadsheet. There's a quick cheat to do that where you set up a filter and you can click every team. So U12 girls, you'll see all the children's names. And we've put the city and their zip code where they're from. So we can do that. I do ask that the requests are considered, and we don't want to do things multiple times. We want to do them right the first time. We want to give you what you need, so that we can get on with focusing on the kids and our day jobs, and you guys can focus on making sure that everybody here is happy. And we can, I don't see that giving Bob the schedules enables him to be enforced to know these are when East Side is on the field, and anybody else should be mom and dad kicking the ball with their kids as a training or as a family event, but there shouldn't be anybody organized without us.
Well, see, that would serve that purpose. I think our manager, Mark, discovered there were 3 teams from St. Clair Shores using that field as their home field. And again, we didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And again, it was
Even I didn't
organized.
know
This
about
isn't mom or dad kicking the ball. This This is organized soccer with referees.
No, and even I don't know about that.
So,
And it's very interesting because we've made a point not to, teams can work out our schedules by looking on the leagues and stuff like that, but in theory, we don't hand that to anybody else. It's not in our business to have rogue teams coming in. There's
Okay.
not enough green space in Grosse
well,
Pointe.
thanks, Stuart. I know Park and Harbor is going to work with you, and we thought, there's some lawyers on this council too, that we should have something maybe in writing and dealing with liability issues. You know, where
We do
I'm
do
sure
that.
providing catastrophic liability insurance or.
As part of your current fields use application that I submit every year, you do get a insurance certificate.
Okay.
That is given to you and the other cities as well in the Grosse Pointe School.
Okay.
So
We have that document.
Okay, we do? Okay.
that is one of your rules that is out there currently, and if we know the future ones, we'll certainly abide by those as well. And we appreciate it. We know it's not only a take in this relationship. We are putting cash back into the fields for the growth and the cultivation of the grass, but yours is the showcase. This is the best field around, so we'd love to partner and keep it that way.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you. Tina, blue ribbon panel?
At this time, do you want me to defer to you, Mark, with the information? Okay. We are, as far as the Blue Ribbon Panel, we have been awaiting the engineer reports, and I'm happy to say that today we have them, and I'm going to let Mark talk about this.
Okay, good.
And on his, right, you want to do it on your section?
Right, you can do it now.
Well, Miles will wait then maybe for your report then. Brian, legal report?
Sure. Thank you, Ted. Since the date of the last city council meeting held on August 16th, 2016, we as city attorney have been engaged in the following activities on behalf of the city. First, you may remember, and it's an old business agenda item tonight, that at the last meeting we discussed a Title VI implementation plan that needs to be adopted and put into operation by the city relative to its public works employees. We drafted revisions. We drafted revisions to that plan. We prepared a compliance outline. We had calls with the client and the client's representatives with respect to certain aspects of the plan, also with MDOT representatives. And I brought with me tonight, this is really an agenda item that Mark Wollweber will discuss as on the old business portion of the agenda, but we've prepared a resolution to approve a Title VI non-discrimination plan, and then also a couple of contracts that need to be signed by City Manager Wollweber and Mayor Kuderski. And we can present those at the end of the deliberation on that issue. We also conferred with the city regarding sewer overflow notices that were received from a law firm representing Detroit area residents. The overwhelming majority of these residents live in the Jefferson Falls area in Detroit, and as a prerequisite to a lawsuit against a municipality claiming that the municipality somehow contributed through their sewage overflow system to the residential flooding. These notices have to go out 45 days in advance. Now, they went out to all the points, including Grosse Pointe Shores and also Harper Woods. We are under the understanding that the damage from this flooding incident, there were two. There was one in July and then one later in July of this year. We understand that that flooding would not have resulted from any overflow occurring here at the city. And it's further, I'll call it down the stream. But again, we got these notices. There's nothing to do right now other than to sit on them and hope that the city is not named in the lawsuit. We also conferred with the city regarding its jurisdiction to abate noise nuisances or violations that are occurring offshore on Lake St. Clair. Apparently, some people in some very large boats with some very large speakers are going out and turning on very loud music till 3 and 4 in the morning. And it's bothering a number of residents. And there is a question there whether and how much enforcement authority the city has on navigable water like Lake St. Clair versus on Lakeshore Road. We're looking at that right now, and we're in touch with the City of Detroit Harbor Master on the question, and also with the Marine Division of Macomb County Sheriff's Department, and we'll follow up with Chief Schulte on an answer to the question that was raised. You got that sniper rifle still, Chief. You can take a speaker out real easy, right? This is another item that's on the agenda tonight as a new business item, the WCA assessing contract, the new assessor for the city. We analyzed that contract and we advised the city in connection with it. And I'll let City Manager Wollenweber talk about that a little bit more. We also reviewed and conferred with the city on a proposed AT&T Michigan Cable Services renewal contract that was submitted to the city. AT&T has the right to prematurely, I guess, or in advance renew that contract. It's a statutory right granted to it by the legislature and approved by the MPSC. So it's really kind of a rubber stamp sort of approval and agreement to a new contract. We renewed our review of zoning ordinance amendments memorandum that have been prepared by the city planner, Carlisle Wortman. We discussed this about, I want to say, 8 months ago at a city council meeting, and the city planner has recommended numerous technical and substantive modifications or revisions to the city zoning ordinances. We're going to have a meeting, City Manager Wollenweber, myself, Carlisle Wortman, and I think Tom Krolchek are going to meet on October 20th at our offices to go over these amendments with a fine-tooth comb and try and reach some agreement and then present them to council, whatever amendments there are to be, present them to a council for approval. We also conducted settlement negotiations with the lawyer for the property owner of 950 Lakeshore Road regarding his property tax case. We were able to settle that case on terms that were within the city manager's settlement authority. So that's come to a close. We also prepared for and attended a tax appeal hearing at the Michigan Tax Tribunal on the 970 Lakeshore Road tax appeal. Decision by the tax tribunal on that matter is pending. That's an appeal relative to the 2013 and 2014 tax years affecting that property. We also recently received a new tax petition filed by the owners of 75 Roslyn Road just in the last week, 2 weeks, I suppose. We prepared and filed responsive pleadings with the Michigan Tax Tribunal. That matter will proceed according to the regular scheduling order. And then finally, we are having continuing discussions with the city regarding a potential public road closure affecting Larned Lane. That's my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Good
You've been
report.
working on Larned Lane for a year? It's about a year, isn't it? Have you been working on that?
Well, it first arose a year ago. Yeah, the inquiry from the property owner first arose about a year ago. And the question is, who is responsible to spearhead, I guess,
Who's going to pay for it?
and it's kind of ebbed and flowed, tides, I suppose, no pun intended, but it's back on the city's radar, and we're looking at the issue and the participation requirements on the one hand, and as you pointed out, Bruce, the fund.
It's always the money.
All right, good report, Brian. Mark?
First item, we participated, and I sent council a note, with the Taxpayers for Michigan Constitutional Government. We joined that group with a small donation or payment and participated in a lawsuit against the state over the way they've interpreted the Headley Amendment. You may have seen it in the news or in local papers. I think it's very interesting that folks who were involved with the original Headley Act, as it was passed, are actually supporting the various communities that are participating in this petition as to the way the state's interpreted the Headley Amendment. There's a reception on September 29th. I think we sent notices for Chris Fenton, who's been the business manager for the Grosse Pointe Public School System for many, many years. Local resident in Grosse Pointe Woods, active in many ways, smart enough never to take the superintendent's position every time they begged him. But please let me know if anybody's interested in going. We've prepared a resolution which will be presented for council signature. You may have already signed it for presentation that evening. But it's a real loss to the district, and certainly he's been a friend to all the communities and a very easy person to work with. We expect any day the bike fix-it station, and it will be going out in front of, and that's why the maize-colored track was removed for the concrete to be poured, and we'll be putting both back up, and the bike fix-it station. And keeping with that, we've been able to work with Tim Colleen. We're getting just over $10,000 to put more of those fix-it stations in all the other Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods communities, primarily at the 3 library branches, and then there's some others in the business district and up on Mac as well.
And what is that?
It's a spot where you can hang your bike, pump air into the tires, or use the tools that are attached by airplane things that you'd have to have a giant
Cable.
to cut them off or to steal them. We first came across this, and I mentioned a couple months, I think, ago, at the Plymouth Library, and it's gone gangbusters. With all the people that use it, we think putting it out here next to our bus shelter and to the bike rack will be helpful. And at the same time, Brett has arranged for we will be installing a doggy drinking fountain. That was something that came up at the Blue Ribbon Committee, and I think it's been a request, and it's been pretty successful. I don't know how many dog licenses we sold with the key fob to get into the park, but those have been, okay, enjoying it, and that will help. That was something that was suggested there. One of the things that Brett mentioned earlier was lots of complaints about the high water bills because of the hot summer and one of the hottest on record, either the first or second hottest I've heard, and the use of sprinkler systems. But we will be expediting, this is an issue that the Finance Committee has asked us about, the installation of the radio read meters, because we can then print off usage. And we've notified in a couple of cases, people have been out of town, and we've noticed an increase in usage, and there's been a break or something inside the house, and we're able to notify them quickly about that. The other thing that was mentioned, Brett, I think it was too modest in not mentioning that with the InfoSource and the DTE project. First of all, we made DTE give us a $50,000 check, which we immediately cashed, or Rhonda did, and when somebody higher up caught that, said, well, you're not able to charge us that, and we told them, we're not giving it back until all the cleanup's done to our satisfaction, and any breaks that, or sprinkler system issues or things like that, you know, we'll be charging the repairs to that account. But he meets with those folks daily to determine what their process is for the day. And just as an example, there are certain things that DT must do, and others that InfoSource, they've been contract, but InfoSource is way ahead. So at one point, Brett told them, don't bother coming back until DTE gets caught up here with some of the things. But generally, we've been getting good cooperation from both. And as I said, Brett's able to meet with them every day to determine what's going on. Finally, tennis court bids. We did, this was discussed a couple of, I think at the last council meeting, and we did take proposals to get estimates for the tennis courts project, and we did receive both information and a narrative, which we furnished the council, and I'm sure we'll furnish it to for the next Parks and Harbor Committee as well. But it is our intention, assuming council agrees, to go out for bids, to engage AEW for a price not to exceed $8,000 to cover writing all the bid specs. We have their estimates for construction. They've done the soil samples to place them. They will advise us reconstruction in the current location as well as in the proposed new location. And there might be a few other things we'll put in the bid specs, but our intention is to go out for bids, assuming council approves that concept, and to have those in hand hopefully for the next month or the November meeting, so that we can go ahead with either demolition either this year, reconstruction in the spring, or maybe we'll leave that to the contractors as we get them. But the Blue Ribbon Committee did a lot of research on this, gave us the names of a number of contractors, all of which we will be in contact with to make sure that they have our bid packages, so.
So you're gonna quote option A and option B, is that what we're gonna do? Option A is refurbish, replace existing court, existing location, existing electrical. Option B is new location, demolition of the other one, in a warranty and all of that.
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna present that, are we gonna add on to that resurfacing the parking lot, or is that gonna be a separate?
I'm not sure yet.
Because you're gonna asphalt contractor work, and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm not sure it'll be the same contract or not. We may put that as an alternative price to resurface the parking lot as well, and make the minor changes that were talked about there as well. It doesn't hurt to perhaps take the proposal on that. Doesn't mean, of course, the bid specs will say we have the right to reject or approve portions, et cetera, so.
Is that gonna include the remediation of the existing, I mean, like, we're gonna put grass back where the old courts are, and that's gonna include the landscaping and all the peripheral
Their
stuff?
prices, yes.
You're gonna give them a drinking fountain? Maybe.
Oh, if in the new location, there will be water and stuff run to that location too, so.
Okay.
Mark, what was the result of the soil samples on the swimming pool? Did we get that back, or?
We're just in the process of getting all that work done now. We had to wait till the close of the pool to take those.
Thank you.
Then we will have those results probably for next month.
Okay. Tina, do you have a question?
Well, I want to make a motion for the council that we approve going forward and soliciting bids for the two different proposals, so that we can get some hard and fast cost numbers done.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Last council meeting?
No.
Yeah.
We
That's where it's
approved to
10,000
get a
now.
engineering firm.
Oh, not for the
Now
bidding?
we're going out for actual bidding.
And the firm will monitor, will assist us with the actual bid specs, not just the estimates that we have, which you have in front of you, as well as assist us with the construction and monitor the construction on it too.
Then, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So the contractor that built Grosse Pointe North's tennis courts probably would be invited or available to?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
With others.
All right, thanks, Mark. Old business, we got a project, and we're gonna be in the process of receiving federal financial assistance. So the federal law requires that we adopt a Title VI plan under MDOT.
Yes, and Brian's reviewed this, our consultants reviewed this, Roland Austin as well. And I discussed this last time, but this is a unique, you have to have a draft plan, which our engineers helped us in doing HRC, that is, we had to send it to the state for their comments before we could adopt it. So we're asking you this evening to adopt, and Brian has a draft resolution, which he can put into the record, and that will authorize the appropriate folks to sign. Then we'll file the plan with the state, and should we have complaints, but just as an example, one of the things we had to do, based on the state requirements, was to take a survey of our employees as to how often they talk to folks who don't speak English. Not sure how relevant that was, but we followed the state requirements, and that met their issues, so that was one of the things we had to do, that they reminded us.
Well, I see it's going to be countersigned by their EEO officer at the Michigan Department of Transportation, so, okay. Well then, it's there on page 61 to 7, or 58 to 60. I need a motion to approve the adoption of the Title VI plan to be delivered to the Michigan Department of Transportation.
But you need to adopt the resolution then.
Yeah, Brian's resolution will go in.
To adopt the resolution, the form then.
Oh, okay,
Which will
okay.
allow us to do that.
So amend the motion to include that. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Good.
I move.
New business, item 10 is the WCA assessing proposal for
Yes,
services.
This is WCA, two representatives are here, Aaron Powers and Doug Shaw, and you can tell, you really know how old you are when I knew one of their dads many years ago. And they do many of the communities in Wayne County. We're able to check their references. Both Harper Woods is very pleased with the people, their representation, as well as Grosse Pointe Park. And I think you met with the Woods maybe last night, or, so it's likely we may be sharing at least a supervisory person around. And the one thing that came up at our Finance Committee was it was always a suggestion that, and they were able to accommodate us. We agreed to a 4-year plan, and the first 2 years will be the same price. And then it will apply the CPI in years 3 and 4. We wanted stability, and they were fine with the concept, and so we'll sign the amended contract, assuming council approves. But Doug or Aaron, if you'd like to say anything, introduce yourselves and talk about briefly what you do. And we think their references are good, and we're recommending their approval.
Anybody's got to wait 2 hours, we got to be nice to them, right?
Thank you, Mark, and good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Aaron Powers, and this is Doug Shaw. We're the managing partners of WCA Assessing. We've been in business for over 34 years, providing cost-effective solutions to municipal governments throughout the state of Michigan. We currently represent 21 or 26 jurisdictions, 21 within Wayne County, and a number in Washtenaw and Oakland and Kalamazoo as well. And we're very happy to be able to be of service to your jurisdiction. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I see your fee's $18,700, and then it's adjusted in the last 2 years by the cost of living. And this assures us that we'll meet the criteria of the Michigan State Tax Commission. Is that correct?
That is correct.
20 factors, I think, that you need to have, or how many ever factors there are.
Prior to our meeting with them, they were able to pull up it's called the AMAR review, and we just got approval last few days that our remediation plan that the county helped us prepare last year has been approved, and we're no longer on their list.
Oh, good.
So they'll revisit us in what, 3 to 5 or something like that?
5-year cycle.
Every 5 years, so.
Have you had a chance to look at our records before you quoted? Did you go through or did you have a chance to look at our assessing records and our files and stuff?
Electronically, yes.
And you felt comfortable with those?
Yes.
So you
They'll
have a
be
good,
assisting us in updating some of those.
so you feel good that there's not going to be, that going forward, you have the adequate basis to either improve or enhance the existing base that we have, and we have no glaring deficiencies at this point?
That's correct.
Good.
Good.
I vote for the contract. I make a motion. Let's get these guys out of here.
Okay, there's a motion. Is it seconded?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of signing this contract, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you, gentlemen, for coming and waiting, like you said, Bruce said, 2 hours.
Our pleasure.
So,
Good evening.
welcome aboard. Okay. The next item is the Lakeshore Road televising and cleaning program, proposal on page 72.
Yes, let me briefly, or,
Go ahead.
this is a project Wayne County was interested in. We haven't done this in how many years? At least 30?
Oh, 25, I believe.
Okay.
Been a long time.
The Finance Committee authorized, in part of our budget preparation, council was advised, we put funds in the budget to do this. Because of the size of the project, we decided this really should be bid, and it turned out that was to our advantage, because we're way under our cost estimate here. We're recommending approval. Jesse Vandekreek is here from HRC, and Brett or Jesse may want to say
Successor.
just a couple of words.
Another patient man.
Well, he's the successor, so he's been waiting a long time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As City Manager Wallen Weber stated, this project, of course, has been a long time in the coming. You're all aware of the need for this project. So to make it short and sweet, last Tuesday on the 13th, we solicited bids through MIDA, the statewide agency. Last week, those bids were due on September 13th. Ultimately, we received 3 bids, which gave us a good cross-section of the market cost to do this work today. And the apparent low bidder was a firm by the name of United Resource LLC out of Livonia, Michigan. United Resource did submit their references along with the bid as required. Not only did our firm have current experience working with them in other municipalities, but we checked out their other references here in southeast Michigan in communities such as Livonia, Warren, and Wyandotte, and all of their projects came back satisfactory. So therefore, on that basis, subject to the receipt of the appropriate bonds and insurance from the contractor, we're here tonight to ask council to recommend award of the Lakeshore Road Interceptor televising and cleaning program to United Resources LLC of Livonia, Michigan, in the amount of $148,013.50.
Now, in addition to that, we've added, and that's why the resolution's a different number, that includes the entire monitoring and testing necessary for the engineers.
The
So
televising.
The total project is not to exceed 178,013, and I don't know how.
And 50.
It was 50 cents.
Why didn't we call it 180 grand, not to exceed?
A lot easier to work
That's
with.
That's a lot easier. I make a motion to approve the contract not to exceed $180,000.
Is there support?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Welcome aboard. I forgot to add that we adopted the WCA proposal. That includes small claims tax tribunal actions, which is virtually every one of our cases in tax tribunal. So, any public comment? Thanks for waiting.
I'm Ben Best. I live on 50 Ford Croft. I've lived in Grosse Pointe Shores for 3 years. Some of you may have remembered me or my wife from the Deeplands Project petition and comments. And we met with the builder Foster at the yacht club, and it was probably one of the more entertaining things I've attended in a long time. But it seemed to have resurfaced again. So really, I'm just here to ask, I've been told that there's been a plat proposal submitted to the city planning consultant, and if so, when will the neighbors be informed, and how do I get a copy, since it's a public record?
You can request it under the Freedom of Information Act, and we'll respond accordingly.
Okay. So is that
Is there a plat filed?
Not sure it's been filed. There's been material issued to the, which we have received a copy of, to the planning consultants. But as to the status, can't tell you that the bank has selected. I've been told informally there were 3 additional proposals, 3 or 4 submitted to the bank. I know of 2 without having seen their proposal, but I've not heard anything from the bank or from any of the 3 or 4 that have submitted, other than that they were submitting. We do have a drawing sent to our planning consultants as well, which council will receive a copy of before we respond to his FOIA request.
Okay. I just also want to thank the police department for their work. I was recruited to St. John to do trauma and orthopedic surgeon, and you know, it's nice to live in a community close to a hospital, and I thoroughly enjoy Grosse Pointe Shores for the 3 years I've lived here, and I appreciate what you guys do for the city, and I think maintaining it the way it is seems to be your agenda. Although I understand, and I think most of the neighbors have come to understand, that something needs to be done with that property. And you know, I'm not going to comment on what that should or shouldn't be, because that can go on all day long. But we look forward to staying united as a neighborhood that has a seemingly united interest in the types of things that would be we would be agreeable to as a city. At least I think that third of the city, you know, the southern third of the city, from what we've gathered. And I just wondered, do you have any comment on Foster's departure and what led to that?
No, the only thing I could say is that the bank, we were told the bank did come in and meet with a number of our staff, and I think, Brian, you were involved in that, or were you not?
Not with the bank people.
Okay, with the planning consultants, Tom and I, and they,
I'll correct that, I was on the telephone.
okay, that's right, yeah. And they solicit additional bids. That's the only thing I can tell you, not from having seen their bids or been party to any of who they're dealing with or not. But one of the issues in the future is the bank will need to select a developer or provide some sort of, I don't know if selection's the right word, but someone has to have control of the property to actually submit stuff to us, and usually that's handled by either the trust or the bank agreeing that we're selecting vendor A, B, C, or D, or giving them.
I just try and simplify it a little bit.
Sure.
Just simply, the bank had not decided to sell the property to Foster's Group.
Okay.
They were considering other potential buyers.
Based on
We don't know.
personal preference, or?
Don't know.
They don't have personal preference.
Yeah.
It's a trust
That's what
department.
I'm gathering that. I'm gathering this is about,
Trust department, and at the end of the day, it's probably about the purchase price offered.
It's purchase price and closing. Can they put the money on the table?
so all they,
Yeah.
so you don't have to, I mean, you probably
You're
can't.
asking us to speculate. We don't know. We're not the bank.
Sure, I understand that. I'm just saying, it came down to finances, and they didn't think he had it.
We don't know. You probably know better than people on this council, because you talk about it with others.
Okay,
We had heard he was granted extensions, but at some point, you got to close.
yeah. Well,
But we don't know.
let me just say, I appreciate anybody's involvement that may or may not have had an influence on shutting that down, because I think it would have been bad for the city. I mean, not that anybody,
I don't think anybody worked to shut anything down. It was a question whether simply, pardon me.
Well,
Pardon me. It was simply a question of whether what they may have submitted eventually might have complied with the city's zoning ordinances and this PUD ordinance, Planned Unit Development Ordinance. And on the other side of it, simply whether they had the wherewithal to buy the property and to complete the project. And I think somewhere in between all of that, there was a disconnect between Foster's Group and the bank that owns the property, at least up to this point.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming. Any more public opinion? Public comment? Frank?
Yeah, regarding the tennis court thing, Parks and Harbor recommended back in August that the council go forward and do cost studies. Okay? Now, you guys, normally, Con would have done that as part of their package, but you guys decided to have HRC do it. Now, HRC has done that, they came back. What are the results? Did they have any cost numbers? And if-
HRC did not do the study.
Another firm?
Anderson
Yeah,
X.
You listened earlier.
Oh, okay.
AEW did the results. That information was provided to council this evening. And as part of your next meeting, which whenever that is, we'll be sending you a copy as well.
Yeah, and now tonight you approved going out for bids on 2 proposals. And so you're gonna have to develop specs on 2 proposals. Why not make the decision on what you're gonna do before you go out and spend the money?
Because it's a cost driver.
What?
It's a cost driver. Option A is the, move the courts, it's $304,000. That's what the estimate is. Okay, and option B may be to just redo what we have for 140. So that's gonna make a big driver in terms of budget, and more we get money and funding. That's why we're doing it that way. So they're gonna develop specs, but specs shouldn't be that much different in terms of the actual tennis court. You know, that's why we're doing it that way. Because we want the most information in front of us that we can have to do that. And with good numbers, not, you know, not are my numbers, you know, pull them out of the air. So that's what it is.
Yeah, and my numbers were, I think, 300K.
I don't remember.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Frank. Any other public comment?
Vito Cosenza, 560 Palatine. I've been missing in action for a while, but I just had a question, my own personal knowledge. We did a lot of the investigation about Huawei and getting them into the system. Are they actually operated in Grosse Pointe Shores now?
They're constructing now.
They're still constructing?
They were here at the last meeting, Vito,
I wasn't.
Yeah, well, the guy was here last, and he was the, you know, the regional guy, wasn't he?
President.
Vice President, he gave us a detailed timeline and everything about what they're doing.
Rewire the whole city.
When they're done, they're gonna have a fiber optic, the best internet service around, really, if you want it.
And did it give you a timeline of when this?
They thought by year end they'll be fully running.
By the year end?
That's what they said.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Vito. Any more public comment? If not, council comment. Bob?
I have none, Mayor.
Tina?
Yes, I have a few things. First of all, I want to make a personal statement that, about the soccer fields. We do not have a social responsibility to allow people to use publicly funded resident tax dollar fields for free. Okay? We have a responsibility to our residents to have parking, to be safe, have safety, to live in their backyards, and to be free of constant noise and aggravation on a daily basis. That's what our responsibility here as council people are, not to if your children can play. We have several committees where some of the members have children that have played soccer through this Grosse Pointe system who never had a game on shorter fields, ever. 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, another one was a boy and a girl, never had a game here. So I just want to make that clear, because as we get phone calls from people that are impacted, if you don't live on Schroeder Field or near Schroeder Field, you don't really feel it like these people do on a daily basis, where they can't go in their backyards, they can't barbecue, they can't have fun in their backyards because they have 50 to 100 people running, yelling, screaming, throwing water bottles, leaving sweatshirts in their yard. So I just want to make that clear, that our responsibility is to our residents who pay taxes. Secondly, the email that Lori put together was amazing. I think we all got that. As residents, if you want an email, the newsletter, the monthly newsletter emailed to you, please call or come in and give Lori or Lynn your email address so that you can see. And I do have to just say, it was wonderful. It was wonderfully done. It was very professional, very informative, and it was perfect. So please call and put your email address with the city. Secondly, Grosse Pointe Improvement Foundation, I am the liaison there. We had a meeting last week. They are having their big fundraiser, which is Celebrate, Decorate, and Entertain, October 13th at the Country Club of Detroit. Everybody should try to attend if you can. Invitations are, I believe there's a couple upstairs, and it's a wonderful day to a luncheon to raise money for the Grosse Pointe Improvement Foundation. And on that, they asked me to bring this to you people if we're going to sponsor a table this year as the council. In the past, I think the city manager has sponsored something, and we can either be a fork for $500, a knife sponsorship for $250, or a spoon sponsorship for $100. So I'm asking council collectively, do we want to be a sponsor for this fundraiser?
I think it's a good thing. Bruce?
Cricket.
You put the bite on this?
Cricket.
The answer is yes.
You're in charge of the money.
Okay, the answer
This
is,
is coming out, this is personal, Tina, or the city?
this is personal.
Okay, I'm in. $500 for the group.
Okay, so we are in, so I will put that through, and I
It's
thank,
like $60 or $70 a person or
I
something.
thank you very much. And again, the Grosse Pointe Improvement Foundation, they're working very hard on this, and, you know, they're just awaiting us to come to them with projects that we would like some financial help with. And until we have that, I think they're just waiting and raising money for that. So thank you, that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Tina. Bruce?
I'm all set.
Bob?
I have nothing further.
Doug?
The newsletter was a great thing, really good. Good information.
Good. Since the last council meeting, we've had a lot of really fun activities at the park. A tennis tournament we held Saturday morning. We moved it to a more tolerable temperature time for the players. And we have 2 new champions on really a fabulous day. Everyone at the tournament talked about playing the following year on the new tennis courts. Last year's champions, Dr. Don Schroeder and Dr. Ryan Shupp, were the runner-ups. The chess tournament, I see
Who were
Ken.
the champions this year?
It was Ryan Case and Ala Kajerski.
Ah,
So, in the chess tournament, in the Masters division, previous year's champion, last year's champion, Ken George, lost in a spirited match to Jonathan Malurdy. I forgot to bring the trophy. I meant to bring the trophy to show everyone. Jonathan has won the tournament in the 3 of the last 4 years. In the junior division, Ian Campbell prevailed over Paul Treater. We had perfect weather at the park. And Ken, I can't help but resist, but talk about your experience when you were a youngster in Washington Square Park in New York City, and watching the legendary Bobby Fischer play, you know? So, finally, this past Sunday.
I did stop at the chess place you told me about just yesterday up on Gratiot.
Is it open?
It is open, and it's kind of similar to Rosalino's, where there's 4 different people who are members there who have keys. So you come in and play chess for.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ken. And this past Sunday, we had our first ever, our inaugural classic car show at our park. And many thanks to Rhonda and her husband, Mike, for organizing the show and handling all the details to make it successful. I think we had 43 entries, and which made the judging very difficult because most of them were in wonderful condition. I must thank our 3 judges. I see one of them in the back row there, Gary Mitchell, who I think previously may have issued citations to some of these car owners in the past, so, with his public safety background. Also serving as a judge was Joe Pappas, who was one of the original engineers for the Mopar drag racing team, along with his wife Lynn, an attorney with, again, a lot of background in this. All in all, it was a very successful event for the community. Most of the cars on display were manufactured here in Detroit, and the cars range from a 1926 Model T to a 2015 electric Tesla. The Ford House brought a very rare 1934 Brewster, and the best Mopar entrant was Tom Davies of Grosse Pointe Park, a 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner. I think that was with a Hemi engine. The best import was a 1969 De Tomaso Mangusta, owned by Dick Rusin of Grosse Pointe Park. But I don't see Grosse Pointe Shores people here. Best General Motors was a 1970 Chevrolet Corvette Custom by Dan Carroll, Grosse Pointe City. The best Ford was a 1926 Model T Coupe, Rick Schrage. That was a wonderful car, Grosse Pointe Farms. The best other U.S. manufacturer was a 2015 Tesla all-electric sedan by our manager's son, Britt Weber. And the People's Choice, so I guess it was unanimous, is that right, Gary? Was a 1960 Buick LeSabre convertible owned by Oz and Madeline Zamora. And the Mayor's Choice was the 1967 Chevrolet Corvette, I mean, bright yellow paint, owned by Grosse Pointe Woods, Dr. Ben Sharonowski. So it was a wonderful event. Now, we talk about water bills. We had a town hall Saturday, and I've already received probably 6, 7 phone calls from residents say, what was your water bill? What was your water bill? Can you tell me? I need to know. I got my highest water bill, you know. So my water bill was $870, and the last period for 3 months, it was $236. So that shows you what a dry summer we had, and you know, again, this bill did include the price increase from, was it 5% from last year?
No,
So-
it was more like 8%, the rates went up.
But I've been trying to explain to the residents how it works. We're a pass-through. So last year, we collected, in the fiscal year, the auditor said we collected just over $1.5 million. But we sent $1.2 million of that back to the city of Detroit for the water and sewage costs. Water and sewage being almost equal components. And then from there, we had still a expiring and maturing bond. We paid $35,000 of interest. So that leaves us with $270,000 roughly dollars to run the system, to handle the water main breaks, which comes out of that fund, and to make any infrastructure improvements. So there's really not much cushion, and, you know, I can't say it any differently than that, but, you know, other than watching the system, again, people don't call about the property tax bills. Surprisingly, they call about the water bills. So, you know, we're doing everything that we can. We have our certified technician, Jeff, is installing the radio-operated systems so that if you're away, Bruce, I think you were away, and then all of a sudden, the water usage peaked, because we've had people that have had a foot of water, 2 feet of water in their basement because of a water main break, and unfortunately, they're in Florida. And so they come back, and then all of a sudden, they have to deal with the remedial effect of the water, and then on top of that, we sock them with a big water bill. So we will now be able to monitor that and be ahead of ourselves. Finally, I got some sad news, though. One of our longstanding residents of 49 years, Kirk Tech, passed away last week. And Kirk, I think, was one of the original charter members of the Grosse Pointe Shores Improvement Foundation, and he served as president when it was formulated. They were responsible for getting the 501c3 exemption. As I understand, they were the first one of all the Grosse Pointes to do so. The other communities have modeled their application after ours. So Kirk also served 20 years on the Pension Commission, with the last 10 years on the as the chairperson. So let's keep the family in the prayers. I understand there's a memorial service this Sunday at 12 noon at the Country Club. So with that, our next meeting is October, we'll have the auditor for the next meeting, is that right? October 18th. So I need a motion to,
Probably November.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank everyone for coming.
This kind of breaks the record to our first meeting.
Ted, you're backsliding on us. 2.5 hours. This is ridiculous shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's killing me.
sorry.